All right, so we're rolling. Steve Tubbs, I'm sitting here with Joe McDermott from Global FBO Consultants, also leading the X-1 Approach series, which is a consulting sort of engagement and industry awareness initiative that we're standing up in partner with them. And we've also got the one and only Sean White from Jet Access, who is the Executive Vice President of FBO Operations. I've got the card here to make sure that I didn't screw it up.
Perfect.
Well done.
Perfect.
So Sean has just onboarded or is in the process of onboarding. You guys got 10 FBOs.
That's right.
I think we've got about 7 of them on at this point.
Yeah.
We've been talking for a while, right? So we started talking with you, I think, more seriously around about March.
That's right. Yeah. So it was probably almost 9-10 months ago that we started this process, and I mean, it has gone extremely well. Like you mentioned, we've got 7 FBOs live over the last just 2 months. I mean, we launched 3 of them at the beginning of September and 4 more at the beginning of October. So we're not too far into this. We've got 3 more yet to go here in November and December, much due to the fact that we were coming from multiple different systems coming over. So we, as a company, Jet Access came together at the end of 2021, and just right at the end of the year, December. We were, many people may have recognized us from the charter world. Then we had a series of FBOs that were actually under the Indy Jet, Nashville Jet, Dallas Jet brand. And then there was an acquisition of the Eagle Creek Aviation family of companies that included Eagle Creek and First Wing Jet Center in the Indianapolis area. So in total now we have 6 FBOs in the Indianapolis market, a couple in Illinois at Quincy and Mattoon, 1 outside of Nashville at Music City Executive, and then 1 in at Dallas Executive on the south side of Dallas. And so as we've transitioned all those systems together over the last, talked about it, set it up, looked at all the systems we have from a company perspective, from accounting to maintenance and MRO to training. Our flight training programs have a system, as well as then our FBOs. We were trying to figure out how we as a company can operate systematically across the board. You don't want to have we want one version of the truth, and you can't really create one version of the truth from a data perspective by having multiple different systems feeding data differently and operating differently. We also wanted our teams to be able to interchange between locations. Again, that's really hard to do if everybody's on a different system. And so really trying to create processes, systems, procedures as we come together as a company of 10 FBOs with the expectation that we're going to grow larger in the coming years. We needed a platform to be able to do that across all of our locations and across multiple fuel brands.
Sure.
And that was, another major consideration. So we've done that, launched, and it's really been an exceptional process over the last, like I said, 8 to 10 months that we've been going through it.
It's been a good run. I tell you what, before we get into the nuts and bolts of that and some of the nitty gritty about why technology and where you're headed with the FBO network long term, who are you? How'd you get your start? What are you doing? Why are you doing it?
So I'm Sean White. I'm the Executive Vice President of FBO Operations for Jet Access, which is the long title. But the reality is I'm a guy that's passionate about aviation. I came to this industry. I got my pilot's license as a teenager in high school. Thought I was going to do aeronautics and space, and just some life things changed my path a little bit. And I actually ended up, oddly enough, in government and politics for a while. So my degree's actually in business.
You as a politician, that actually kind of worked.
Right, it was bedfellows.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a different background. But I'm not your kind of traditional, pilot turned FBO manager owner or line service line manager. I did not come up kind of through that side of things. Passionate about aviation, but came really more from the business, marketing, communications side of the world, which I think gave me some unique opportunities and perspective. But now leading an amazing team of about 90 employees at Jet Access that, are, like I mentioned, are spread across 10 locations and leading our FBO vertical. I used to have more involvement in our MRO side of things as well as our flight training side of things. But as we grew and expanded, we moved kind of from a location-based management approach to a vertical or a business line management approach. And so now I lead our great team of FBO employees across the organization. So
You guys selected X1 FBO.
yeah.
There's competition out there. Why did you go for X1?
I think, and not to overstate, but X1's really on the forefront from a technology perspective. So I mean, one big thing, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of fuel brands have something that they offer. Challenge is we're multi-branded, and I think we're going to stay multi-branded for the foreseeable future. And so we wanted something that didn't necessarily tie us to a specific brand. So that rules out some systems kind of.
And you keep your independence.
You keep your independence, it's your system, it's not somebody else's system. And so that was big. And then, we've been users of other systems, but really X1 is the one that kind of matches our desire for evolutionary technology that's pushing the envelope and trying to try new things. I mean, the single point device, that is unique. There's not others that are putting out there. The connectivity to the trucks, that exists in some ways in some systems, but the way that X1 is doing it is completely different. The integration, and I think one of the keys about X1 is it's not just a point of sale system. It's an FBO operations software that integrates everything and then puts it out to your accounting system. And so it really was the logical and best choice for us. I think the other thing that really got us excited about X1 was the willingness of the team to work with us. I mean, it's a technology company that's not set in their ways.
And it gave you confidence.
Gave us confidence, absolutely. Working with great partners too. I mean, FlightBridge is a perfect example. I mean, we've been a FlightBridge user for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they're a great company that's doing some really neat things in the space as well that are incredibly complementary to what X1 is doing. And so the willingness to work together on things like that show you that it's, you're trying to make the best system for the end user, not just for yourself.
As a software provider, I think it's important that you dovetail your product into other solutions that benefit the end user.
Right.
I think back in the day, a lot of the solutions that are still in play when they were initially built, they had to be a one-size-fits-all solution. They had to do everything, and they didn't have something as simple as an API to wire things up and talk to one another. But nowadays, you pick your accounting software.
Right.
And we tie into it the way you want it done. So you're building your solutions around the way you want your business run with a flexible solution to back it up. And I just don't think it's been that way until very, very recently.
It certainly hasn't.
No.
And every FBO is different. And you've got 10 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all different.
You need flexibility.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that we discussed early on was scalability, right? We've got FBOs that range from smaller, more rural airports that don't pump a whole lot of fuel and only have a few employees to ones that are some of the busier general aviation airports in their areas that pump lots of fuel and have large, more complex staffs. And to find a solution that can fit and scale to those locations was, also a major consideration, because while you want to create consistency and process and whatnot, so that people can move between locations, you also, to your point, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Every location's different. Every place has its uniquenesses. In some places we might manage things that we don't manage in other locations, like T-hangars in one location and not managing T-hangars in another. Some we actually act as the airport manager, and in others, from a contract basis. And others were, one of two or more FBOs on the field. Where there's a lot of complex relationships. So all of those things play into how you do business, how you conduct your business, the tools that you need, and the approach that you take to doing business each and every day. So
when you have more than one FBO on the field, you've got competition. Do you find that X1 FBO helps you take on the competition?
I think it will. We're a little early to, at the stage of really being able to use it as a tool to do that. But seeing the tools that are available through the tracking software, through even just what you can do on the single point device, make it easier for not only our staff but obviously for the customer to do business with us. Anything. I mean, I'm a firm believer that price obviously makes an impact, but that's not the only thing people are looking for. It's quality of service and its value at the end of the day. And so if you've got quality service and this can help you provide quality service, consistency of service, consistency in billing, all of those things that are important to the customer, then absolutely it can give you an advantage over your competitor.
So an FBO manager said to me some time ago about X1 FBO, it does so much of the work. We're left then to deal with the customer.
Yeah.
We provide a better services for that reason.
You can focus on what you need to focus on.
Yep.
And that's one of our big drivers of using technology in our business is, labor's, one of your more challenging things, especially in this world, to find, and it's highly expensive. It's challenging to get. And so how do you become more efficient in this business? Because it's still a highly labor intensive business. You can't do, I can't replace a line tech moving an aircraft with technology. There are some things I can do to make it easier, and there's some exciting new things from Tug Technologies and other things out there right now that can make that job safer, better, maybe a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, it takes humans and wing walkers to move airplanes. It takes humans and wing walkers to, or people to marshal in aircraft. That can't be replaced. Moving luggage can't be replaced. Greeting somebody in the lobby, that can't be replaced. But the back end part of the business, if we can make that easier, faster, quicker, that can help efficiency and increase the productivity of our team, which is, at the end of the day, the only way we can continue to kind of deal with the challenges that the world's handing us right now.
I think it's a lot about leveraging smart technology in business aviation the right way. It's rather incredible that that aviation has been, I don't want to say this and offend people or anything like that. Maybe I do, but the industry's been reluctant to adopt modern technology, and it's out there. There's no reason that we shouldn't be leveraging the full might of production-proven modern technology, which I think is, to your point, is what you're saying sort of drew you over. But also on the support side that you were talking about, I think that's a nice segue into talking about the onboarding process. So I think that we had a lot of conversations about how we would structure this at the very beginning, and certainly, no plan survives the first round, and we've had to adjust fire. You guys are 10 FBOs. You're doing a lot of business.
We all understand that.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. Expectations going in and expectations while underway and coming out.
Yeah. So, I consider myself a realist and somewhat of an optimist. I mean, I like to look at things positively, but at the same time, no process is going to be perfect, right? Nothing comes out on, plan put together day one, executed exactly as you had laid out. And, but I think a couple big things. One, X1 throughout the process was incredibly flexible. We're trying to marry multiple systems here together. And in our organization, we took a bit off a big chunk in that we were switching accounting systems, our MRO software, our FBO software, even doing some work within our charter and management software as well. So we're essentially tearing out everything. Our CEO said this morning in a meeting that I was sitting in, he said, we literally tore out everything except for Microsoft Windows and 365. It's literally outside of what you logged into on the desktop, we were tearing that stuff out and redoing it almost all at once.
Time to modernize.
100%. Moving from QuickBooks to NetSuite, moving, from Excel spreadsheets and, the old version of Total FBO to Corridor, moving from Total FBO, Titan, the Atlas program, AvFuel Hub. And literally a, mass built, accounting piece of software. All of those things are what we're driving our FBOs, in addition to a lot of Excel spreadsheets.
Of course.
It's complex.
It's complex.
It ain't simple.
It's not at all. So trying to bring all that stuff together and make it feed.
And did you find the X1 team implementing your systems knew their stuff?
They
all
absolutely.
ex-FBO.
It really helps when they understand FBOs, and they do, because they're all from FBOs. The system's designed by folks who've been at FBOs. The folks that are implementing it have sat behind the front desks and done it. And so that's where the flexibility was key. We moved dates and things around several times. Again, never once really because X1 was like, we're not ready. But we often work. And sometimes it's because of another piece of software not being ready. Our accounting software is not ready. So flexibility in dates, flexibility just in how we did it. And then, and then finally, I think the the best part of the whole thing was the on-site go live support. The team coming on site and being with us for a week at a time with our team. I could do my best to kind of push our teams to prepare, do training, get ready ahead of time. But the idea of having people on site, that's when kind of the magic happens, and it all comes together and people get it. And that was the feedback I got from our team, was having those teams on site was the game changer, frankly. And so, and again, those teams, when they walked into the FBO, to your point, they came out of an FBO. They understood it. They could even be helpful to us at the front desk.
They understood the language. So the common bond is there. We speak the same language.
100%. They understood what they were going through. They know, the challenges that the front desk staff or the line staff are having on a day in and day out basis. And so 100%, that relationship's almost instant because of that, versus, it doesn't feel like when you're talking to support, you're talking to a technology company, you're talking to an FBO, person who understands it. That's a very different dynamic from that perspective.
And that leads to it being a more personal relationship between the client and the supplier.
100%. We know people by name. We have relationships now by name. I'm kind of disappointed I don't see some of the faces that we know here, because they're, I know, working right now.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Go on.
Show must go on. Things still have to happen. But you spend a few days with these folks and you want to see them again. You want to hang out, and you want to continue that relationship. And so it's at 100%. It's been a huge part of the process. And like I said, I think that to close that loop, it's that onboarding process and that on-site support that for us was, I think, the game changer in making it go so smoothly. It really, and I'm not trying to overstate it, but our team has not given me a whole lot of negative feedback at all. Everybody complains a little bit. You changed. You moved their cheese.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's that creates some challenges for anybody. Change is not something I think we innately as humans like. And so I think it's something that's obviously hard, but given that the degree of this change being significant, and the response being so positive, I think speaks volumes to the process and to the software itself, and the technology itself being good technology. And then the good thing is if our team sees stuff, we've provided feedback in the process and it's taken well, like, oh yeah, we haven't, get free FBO is different. We all do things a little differently. So now that you get into our situation and you might see something that hasn't come up before, and it's not like, oh, well, that's the way the system is. No, it's like, no, we will take that feedback and we will try to incorporate that in
and enhance the system.
100%.
Somebody else further down the line is going to have the same difficulty or requirements as you.
Yeah, at some point, you're going to run into something. There's only so many ways to peel the onion.
Right.
And so while there are a lot, at some point you're going to run into that same scenario again down the line. Or it's going to trigger somebody to maybe even think differently about their business.
Sure.
Because you start poking in the software and you say, well, why is this like this? Well, that FBO asked for it that way. Well, that's kind of interesting. And it gives you a little bit of a different way of...
And then from the onboarding perspective, to that same point, our humans that have done so many of these onboardings, have seen so many different FBOs, can leverage that expertise to trim some of the fat off existing processes that you might not even know are there.
Yeah. No, I've asked that question a couple times where we're going through this and we're dealing with something, whether it be on how tax is implemented, how you deal with credit cards, how you deal with, different things. And I'm like, well, how does the other guys do it? Because, I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
At the same time.
Doing that.
Our CEO, Jim, always says, I'd rather learn from somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that comes alive during the onboarding process. So here you are in the midst of a massive technological overhaul. Seems like the end is in sight, at least somewhat near term.
Yep.
Right. So that initiative is well underway and seemingly coming to conclusion. What's next for you in Jet Access? Where are you guys going with this thing? What's the next year or two hold?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, we've been through kind of a major merger. About 18 to 24 months ago, we were a company of 37 employees in total. We're a company of 400 now. That is in what we call every major aviation vertical. So we have our FBO business that we're talking about today and that I lead, but and what's unique about it is each of these businesses kind of stand on their own with their own ability, which is unique in our world. You typically have well, I'm an FBO primarily, and I do a couple of these other things, or I'm an MRO primarily, and I maybe also do a couple other things. For us, we believe that the ecosystem all supports each other. And so we're in the FBO world. We are equally in the MRO world. We are equally in the charter and management world, equally in the flight training world, and equally in the sales and brokerage world. And so we have all of those verticals that we are bringing together as we have expanded and grown the company. And so for us, this year was really about getting our systems and processes and things right, which will probably continue into at least the first part of 2023.
Sure.
To kind of really hammer all that down and have us be in a great spot. And then for us, it's what's next. Where do we go? How do we continue to grow the markets that we're in and look at new markets? And so it's really creating the platform that allows us to grow from is kind of the key as we're laying that foundation, laying that platform with our teams, with our people, with our processes, and with our technology to be able to launch and do more. We're a young group of people that are looking to do something for the next 15, 20 years. Jet Access is not a company that we're going to sell or change or do anything large and like that in the near term. We're in this for hopefully 50, 20 years as a team to go do some really exciting things in this space of this business where we can hopefully leverage technology, modernize the way we do things. You mentioned earlier that FBOs, and I think our industry in general is kind of slow to adopt new technology. I feel like kind of from a business practices perspective, we're about a decade behind the rest of the world.
Right.
Other industries that are doing things with just-in-time technology, that are doing things with RFID, that are doing things, and leveraging technology for efficiency, we kind of sit back. Even it took a while to put iPads in the cockpits and do things that made sense for aviation. And, we were hauling around paper charts for, really up until the last couple of years.
Yep.
In the advent of ForeFlight and Garmin Pilot and some of these other products out there have really changed that. But again, it took kind of groundbreaking, companies to go and do that. And
I found over the years that GMs and CEOs at FBOs are very nervous about moving forward with technology. So you're recounting your experience with 10 FBOs. People may actually find it's easier to study making the move because you found it relatively easy. And vital.
It's vital. I think going back to what I said a little bit earlier, the labor market is not going to get better overnight. So the only way to deal with that broadly is through efficiency, and efficiency is gained, in my mind, through technology. And so we have to look at that. We have to look at, let's put it another way. So we've adopted some of the remote control tug technology as well. It's talking about that from a technological perspective. That's new. It's a little innovative. People are a little scared of it because it's not your traditional, tug and tow bar or even your traditional tow bar list, but you've got a remote control. We have adopted that, used it. I believe it has increased our hangar capacity by about 20 to 30%, which again, that's efficiency.
Serious efficiency.
Serious efficiency from that. It's safer, and I can prove it.
Less hangar rash.
Less hangar rash. It allows you to watch better. Our teams actually, there's actually less occupational hazard with it. It's less bending down, strapping stuff in, because it's all, at least the technology we use is all by, remote control. So that you don't have to bend down, strap something in, hook up a tow bar,
In the rain,
snow, etc. And so it's just another example of at least our attempt to use technology to improve the business. And we think that it's, you have to be willing to try new things. You have to be willing to sometimes say that didn't work and try something different again. And if you've got an openness to being willing to be wrong, which I hope as a leader you're willing to do that.
Oh yeah, that happens.
If you can admit when you're wrong and change directions and be humble about it, then I think you've got the ability to try these new things. And so that's the approach we've taken, and think that it's, at least for us, it's been successful. So,
Well, Sean, always a pleasure to talk to you. I always enjoy the chats. Joe, of course, always a pleasure. Here's to continued success for you guys, and we certainly look forward to a long and mutually beneficial relationship.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic.
Sounds great.
All right.